Hello, everyone. Onegashimasu. I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for joining me tonight. I will read number 10, the principle of non-dissension. There is no conflict in the absolute universe. Conflict arises only in the relative world. If we are to lead others, we must unify mind and body and practice the principles of the universe. Do not say that this is the world of survival of the fittest, where the stronger prey upon the weaker. The true way of peace is exactly the same as the principle of non-dissension. Non-dissension is very important, not just in our events and people and negotiations in the world with others, but also very important in the way that we approach meditation, contemplation, or in short, the way we practice noticing. When we notice, we're going to notice either a preference for what's happening, or maybe a rejection of what's happening, or an ignoring of what's happening. Usually if we're ignoring it, we're not noticing it, but you can notice ignoring too. So those are the three primary reactions we have to things. We like them, we don't like them, we don't think they're important, right? So that's what we're noticing. So, but those are characteristics we've been talking about of our subconscious mind or our ego or our personality characteristics. So if that's true, then who is it that's noticing? That I would like you to tell me. If what we are noticing are the characteristics of who we are in terms of our personality, and those things that make up our reaction to everything that happens, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. If those are all the things that we're noticing, who is it that's noticing? Okay, that's all I have to say about that. Let's do some key breathing. So, I don't know if everyone is aware of Shunichi Toi Sensei's blog. He writes about once a month, he writes another blog. And he writes it in Japanese, and then various different people on his staff translate it into English, and then they send it to me, and I edit it into usually a little bit more clearer English, and then send it back to them, and they put it on the internet. And so I think about every month we have another one coming out. The last one that came out was about something that Toi Sensei used to teach a lot. And that is when you have to give a talk to a bunch of people like this, you have to be the one that's looking at them. If you're the one that's being looked at, if you have that state of mind, then you'll become very nervous and you won't do a very good job. But as long as you're looking, and there's techniques you can use for this, like how many women and how many men are in the audience tonight, and how many are wearing glasses, and how many long hair, how many short hair, how many fat, how many skinny. I mean, you can go on and categorize. If you're just looking to see what people are like, that's okay too. So, but if you're receiving their key, if you're receiving their, if you're concerned about their opinion of you, and then of course you won't be able to perform at the top of your game. And this is has to do with what exactly our practice is, which is noticing it. You know, this idea of noticing is, and I asked you before, who is it that's noticing? So when we're actually noticing without judgment what is arising, so then we can very clearly see. But if when things are arising, we feel shame or guilt or anger, resentment, you know, towards ourselves, so then this is not the same one watching. This is actually a circular thing that's happening in the subconscious mind. Is that clear? So let's have you say something about this. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this question of who it is that is noticing. Can you say something about this? Shall I just pick someone? How about Charles Boyer? We know he'll have something really brilliant to say about this.
Thank you, Sensei, for your vote of confidence. Well, there's no who there. I can say that. What it is exactly is pure speculation.
So, but excuse me, but there is somebody noticing. I mean, there is a noticing that's happening.
There is a noticing.
There's no who there. Are you telling me there's no one noticing? I feel like I'm noticing. It feels like someone's noticing. And you're saying there's no one noticing. Is that right?
That's right, Sensei.
Oh, you see.
So well, sorry, but if thoughts are arising and feelings and perception, you know, and I conceive of someone that's noticing these things, then I'm objectifying. There is some objectification taking place, right?
Yeah, but who is it that's objectifying?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So it's just all it is perception and awareness, consciousness. That's as far as I can take it in my experience.
Okay, well, we seem to be, you know, of course, I'm sort of playing with this idea with you a little bit, but we seem to be really locked into self-agency. You know, of course, we call this our sense of ourself. This is really critically important to every single one of us. So when you tell people that there is no one there, well, this is difficult. You know, think about the eye, here, the physical eye. So the eye can only look at something. It cannot look at itself unless there's a mirror. If there's a mirror, then the eye can see what it looks like. But otherwise, it cannot see. So until mirrors were invented, I suppose you could look at a lake and get an idea, but the eye can never see. So it's interesting that it's spelled E-Y-E, but we pronounce it I. And so I would say that also the I within us can never see itself because it's the one that's always looking. It doesn't mean there's no one there. It doesn't mean there's nothing there. There is a self. I mean, because it's too powerful to just say, oh, to dismiss it. Because our whole being, even as I say being, what am I referring to? Myself. So there is something that is noticing, someone, a who, that is noticing, but it cannot notice itself. If it notices itself, then it's stepped out of its role of being what it actually is. So the ego is the one that thinks it's noticing itself all the time. So that's the foolishness, that's the mistaken notion. But the one who cannot see itself, if you're sitting and you cannot notice what that is, then that's it. Okay, thank you very much. I knew you'd be brilliant. Okay. How about Fincher Sterling?
Hello, Sensei. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, good evening.
Who is watching? I'm pretty sure it's my mother that's watching.
Well, she's in there somewhere, but I'm not sure she's the original one.
Not the original one, but the more usual one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, a conglomerate of, conditioned personality issues. In most part, I think, I think I mentioned this once to you before. I had a real epiphany at one time that most of my thoughts have to travel through numerous layers of conditioning before my conscious mind really recognizes them. So I think it's that peeling back of all of these layers of, conditioning from birth on up that has to be done before you can really say there's no one there. So how is it that we can really see? I mean, how long does it take to peel all of this back before we can sit there and say?
Wait, now, excuse me for interrupting you, but are you going back and saying there's no one there?
No.
Who's noticing this? Who's doing this peeling business you're talking about? Who is that? That's not your mother. The mother is something to be peeled away. So who is the one that's actually the seed, the core? Yes, when we take the onion apart, there's nothing left in the center. There's no center, right? So you can say that maybe this exists just as space, but there is an awareness of a looking, an awareness of an awareness. There is someone looking, someone active. That one, we can never see it because it's the one that's doing everything. It's the one that's looking. So the one looking cannot see itself. But it doesn't mean there's no one there. There may be all kinds of, as you say, layers and tons of conditioning and garbage and baggage and mothers and fathers and senseis and girlfriends and boyfriends and children and having, attempting to have their way with us. But there's always an us. that they're all of that is attempting to have its way with. And so understanding that it's not enough just to say, well, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my body, I'm not my emotions, I'm not my this, I'm not my that, because I can see it all. I can notice it all. So anything that I can notice is not I. It's an object of I. It can be noticed. But the I cannot be objectified. If you try to objectify the self, or if you do objectify the self, then it's not the self. Because the self is the one that is doing the objectification, the one that's looking. So Shinichi Sensei in this weblog is talking about the difference between being that one and being something that's objectified. And you do it by that's what you're doing when you're feeling self-conscious, the audience is watching you and you're not sure that you're going to say the right thing. That's turning yourself into an object of the crowd, an object of the audience. So that's the opposite of mind-body unification. I just think it's very beautiful that, I mean, Shinichi Sensei, this I have to say, to be fair, it is his father's teaching, but he has a very clear understanding of it. And if you haven't read that blog, please read it. It'll be very helpful. Do we have time for one more? How about someone volunteer? Someone like to say something about this? Alaria.
Hi, Sensei.
I saw you volunteering, didn't I? I saw
No.
you move forward, like, oh, I think I saw that.
I wasn't volunteering, but I will now.
Okay.
This is a lot to digest, so I'm just kind of sitting with it right now. But today, I had an expectation for something, and something arose where it was different, and I noticed how much I wanted it to be the way that I wanted it. But the noticing was definitely, I guess, my ego, because I started thinking way too much about that I noticed it.
Well, you know, it's like meditation, Ilaria. We say when we start going off and we wake up and realize that we've gone off, we just come back. We don't go, oh, this is just the ego talking here. This is my fantasy. No, that's just more chitch. That's just more of the same. No, as soon as we wake up, boom, we're back. So the same thing with noticing, because that's all you're doing is you're doing the same practice. So you had an expectation. You realized that you had an expectation and you really noticed it because it didn't come out that way, right? So, oh, that's it. You noticed it.
Okay.
And,
Sensei.
right, there's no more and.
Hi.
I think that's a good way to finish this. This is, it is like you say, a mouthful. There's a lot here to digest. A lifetime, actually. But this is very, very important. And there's a lot of different ways we can see how this affects the way we do our physical Aikido techniques and our Hitori Waza, one-man techniques, one-person techniques, Kyatsu, swinging Bokken one time. Yeah, so we always want to be, the actor always wants to be the one that can't see itself. Never an object Okay. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.